my dear people of southern Cameroons, great warriors of our struggle for freedom, for total freedom, for independence. Accept revolutionary greetings from me, John Ba Akuro, this day. Today is Saturday, and it is the 13th day of the month of March, the year 2021. I'm very delighted to be with each and every one of us here today. And I'm glad that you always find time to be here so that we share a few words together and, contribute our quarter to the quest of our people for freedom, for total freedom. My people, today I'm once more really happy and excited. Excited because we are continuing to make progress. Every day we are making progress. The world is continuing to move and move seriously in the direction of ensuring that we have the kind of support, the kind of assistance that is required to end the brutality that is ongoing on our territory. The brutality that is ongoing on the territory of the once independent state of southern Cameroons. My people, I continue to encourage, to hail, and to congratulate all the civilians. I mean, all the members of the civil society organizations in southern Cameroons and all our people in the local communities for their continued commitment to our quest for total independence, the total and absolute independence of the southern Cameroons. It is by your sacrifices, our sacrifices, through this and this alone, that we are going to be able to secure back our country and make sure we pass on a much better future for generations upon generations of southern Cameroonians to come. My people, the sacrifices we are making today will not go in vain if we do one thing. One thing. If we privilege truth, if we determine that manipulation, conspiracy theories, and all their corollaries have no place in this movement, that power drunkenness will have no place in this movement. My people, last night I was talking with some spiritual guides, and they said, Mr. Kuro, we are all feeling the pains. We are all not happy at all that this whole expedition is taking some time. We are not happy at all that things have not moved as fast as a good lot of us would have expected. But we want to tell you one thing, and make sure you share this with the people, that the Lord God is keeping us slightly longer in the wilderness because there are people, there are characters, actors among us that must be exposed for whom they are, so that all the people see them, know them, recognize them. Just because God, who wants to give us this freedom, who has already decided that we will be free, will not see us get into a country that will be transformed into a battleground of egos. And that is why it's taking us a bit long, because the swamps have to be drained. And I was like, gosh, what are you talking about? But, my people, wisdom, as they say, is the principal thing, but it is not given to any Tom, Dick, or Harry. And wisdom doesn't find a place in a heart, in a mind where there is pride, where there is voting pride, and where there is power dust. So, my people, we are making progress. And I'm really, really delighted that we are making progress. And that around the world, there is a coalition building gradually but steadily to guarantee that a day will come when we will all smile and shout and dance and say, yes, to God be all the glory, because we have made it, because we have taken back our country. And this is happening thanks to the efforts of a lot of Southern Cameroonians who are not even known. A good lot of them who don't sleep at all. Every minute they are entering the homes or offices of a lot of elected representatives in Western capitals around the world. Yes, in America, in France, in Germany, in Britain, in Canada, everywhere, you have these devoted Southern Cameroonians. A good lot of them, very educated people. A good lot of them, rich people. A good lot of them, people who are well placed, who should not even be bothered, if at all they really feel like their circumstances are so comfortable enough. But these people have a heart, a mind on their people of the Southern Cameroons. And they are not self-seeking. No, they don't even want to be known. They don't want to be praised. They don't want to be glorified. They don't even want to be called leaders. All they want to do is to contribute their quota to make sure we get freedom. But there are others that by the force of things, we now know them publicly. And I want to doff my heart to Effie Walter Tembon, our brother Effie Walter Tembon, for the marvelous job he is doing behind the scenes, for the great job that he is doing. It is thanks to a lot of his efforts that we are seeing the too many things that we are seeing happening around the world. He's not alone, like I said, there are too many others. And then there are these other brothers and sisters of the Southern Cameroons regrouped under what is known as the CDN, the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiations. They are doing a marvelous job. I bet you. A marvelous job. Yet, we have not seen any of them standing on rooftops to start crying and clamoring for leadership. Take a look at this. My people, tweets like this ones should reassure each and every one of us that yes, we are making progress, that yes, we are getting there. Just take a look at it. This is a representative of the U.S. Senate Foreign Affairs Committee. He says, I'm encouraged to see our colleagues in Canada's HOC committees discuss the Anglophone crisis in Cameroon and commit to rallying allies to end the conflict. Look forward to more legislatures around the world working to support a solution. And he quotes Resolution 684. Some in our midst actually did trash this resolution. That is not the subject of our discussion today. The subject of our discussion today, my people, is what we must do as a people to keep this momentum on our side. In the past 2 days, or in the past few days, I listened to some of our comrades, and then a thing came back to my mind. In my last communication, I indicated that a time will come where we will begin naming all of those who do not want to see collaboration, who do not want to cease internal fire, to stop these internal attacks against one another, who do not want to see us work together as a bunch of broom. I said so. And some of you in your comments said, Mr. Akuro, name the names. After you listened to our comrades speak a few days back, I think 2 days ago, and the other about 4 days back, you listened to Comrade Chris Anu, you listened to Comrade Cho Ayaba. After you listen to those two, do you still require me to call names? Do you still require that I call names to tell you that such and such are people who have decided to stand on the way, on the way of the prosperity of this movement, to stand on the way of total collaboration, to stand on the way of working together, to stand on the way of synergizing our efforts? Do you still need me to call names? My people, an old man called me from Bongé 2 days ago, and he reminded me about the parable of the bunch of broom and the stick. He said, remember the story where an old man took a broomstick, and gave to the son, said, break it. And he broke it very fast. He gave him 2, break. He did. And after that, he took the bunch of broom and gave him and said, break it. And when it struggled, couldn't go, he said, but why didn't it go? And the message was that when you are fragmented, isolated, and dealt with one by one, you become vulnerable. But when you operate as a bunch, it's difficult to break you. My people, that knowledge appears not to sink with some in our movement. I like us to share this piece of wisdom by Jim Collins. He says, the difference between a good leader and a great leader is humility. That's Jim Collins. He says the difference between a good leader and a great leader is humility. And he adds that the X factor of great leadership is not personality, it is humility. I like us to share some of this knowledge so that we grow, my people, to understand exactly what is before us, what is at stake. And so we will be able to address some of these preposterous statements made by some individuals who suddenly believe that they are the alpha and the omega of this movement. I like us to hear also from Simon Sinek, who says great leaders don't need to act tough. Their confidence and humility serve to underscore their toughness. Keywords: confidence and humility serve to underscore their toughness. And this is from Simon Sinek. Listen, when I listened to Comrade Chris Anu talk, and he said his IG has the yam and the knife, every other person can go to hell. I said, oh, really? But I was still trying to digest that, to understand what kind of form of character to give him. When Comrade Cho Ayaba appeared and simply evoked a passage in European history. I know a good lot of us, did read European history because we really had to. That's how it was at the time. And if you read European history, you will easily remember Louis XIV of France, who said, "L'État, c'est moi. I am the state." So when I listened to Comrade Cho Ayaba, I could actually hear in the distance Louis XIV speaking, saying, "L'État, c'est moi." And I asked myself, what has happened to humility? What has come over our brothers? Listen, when I spoke here the last time, in my last communication, I said, La République du Cameroun is a country that has a government and a system that lives and breathes only on manipulation and succeeds only when they do what is called divide and rule. And I pointed out that with all the efforts going around the world to help resolve the ongoing unacceptable humanitarian crisis in the southern Cameroons, that with all these movements and with ongoing efforts by a group of southern Cameroonians to help bridge the divide between the various groups, movements, and organizations in our struggle for independence, we are going to have La République du Cameroun approach some individuals, approach some groups and tell them, subdue everybody and I will work only with you. And that way they will transform you into a dynamite in this movement. They will transform you into their agent, sometimes without you knowing. But because they sense in you greed, power thirst, that is why you become an easy target to them. Listen, Thomas Hobbes, if the owl says, the biggest trouble of mankind is greed. Greed. And because of that greed, it is easy to prey on you. So I'm not surprised. And that is why I want to say this. Because they find easily places where this rare thing called humility does not exist. And they can easily sail into there to create all this confusion. It hasn't changed from what I said. Jim Rohn says the challenge of leadership is to be strong, but not rude. Be kind, but not weak. Be bold, but not bully. Be thoughtful, but not lazy. Be humble, but not timid. Be proud, but not arrogant. Have humor, but without folly. Listen, I know you will say, why is he bringing all of this? My people, I will get into the crux of the matter and point out a few things so we evaluate these things and recognize that as a people, we will not make it if we don't seriously take a step back and decide to resolve some of these calamitous outings and get our struggle back on track. I say this because this issue of leadership or non-leadership or whatsoever appears to get so much into the heads, minds, and hearts of some of our people to the point where we have taken our focus away from the objective, from the big prize, which is freedom. We have taken that focus to something else, to tearing ourselves apart. Fuchan Yuan says there are 3 essentials of leadership: humility, clarity, and courage. I will come back to this. Now, let us get into the crux of the matter. My people, when I listened to Comrade Cho Ayaba say that as far as he is concerned, he believes that there are 2 groups that have emerged in this movement, or there are 2 poles, and that he believes that those are the poles that matter. His egg of C and the 2 IGs. I repeat what he said. And so as far as he's concerned, the other people are noisemakers and they are not worthy of him having to sit down and talk with them or to make any arrangements with them. When I listened to that, I recalled the SDF as a party was all powerful in Cameroon in the 90s. By 1997, Chairman John Frundi made a statement that Le Messager picked up and published. And that was the beginning of the collapse of the SDF, because it started going down the drains, down, and that was the beginning of the collapse of a lofty idea of how to bring about change. When he said, "Je ne discute pas avec les petits leaders." That's when they said all opposition parties should come together and all whatnot and form a coalition to see how to oust Mr. Biya and bring about change. At that time, he considered that it was already so big up there, so tough, so strong, and the others were, just in reality, they didn't matter. He said, "Je ne discute pas avec les petits leaders." When that article hit the newsstands, it was a come and see. My people. So when I listened to Comrade Cho Ayaba talk, I said, "Oh, really? This is interesting. This is amazing." And then when I turned around again and listened to Comrade Chris Anu, who said Mr. Cho Ayaba had been to Cameroon twice to get out consignment of his sticks that were held back there, and the government of La République negotiated with him and allowed him to take his consignment inland, and then he returned to Europe. I said, "Really?" Listen, my people, I want to say this, and I'm laughing. Because when you listen to these 2 people, you see exactly that what is in their minds is not the freedom of Southern Cameroon. It's about personal power, personal deification, personal glorification, personality cult. If you have worked in the Cameroon I worked in, you understand Comrade Cho Ayaba cannot enter there and come, no matter what entente he has for La République du Cameroun. Remember, La République du Cameroun never keeps a promise. And just imagine the joy it will cause to the people of La République du Cameroun and their troops to hear that they captured Comrade Cho Ayaba. Even if too often it's a nuisance to our movement. But just the fact that they say they captured him, the morale of their troops will rise to unimaginable proportions. But again, when I hear that Comrade Cho Ayaba was in Cameroon, and I said, is it the same Comrade Cho Ayaba who could not attend a meeting with Southern Cameroonians on Zoom because his national security advisor said his security was not assured on a Zoom meeting? That's somebody whose security has to be assured on a Zoom meeting. Who fears to sit in a Zoom meeting with fellow Southern Cameroonians for security reasons. That one will have the courage to go to Cameroon and be back. Come on, give me a break. Just go ahead and give me a break. Now, I want to say this to both Comrades Chris and Ayaba, who believe today that you are the alpha and the omega of this movement. Let me say this. Because you talk sometimes and make reference of how many members are in this or that group. I want to ask the question. When I look at the egg of sea, or is it because you have a few people or some people that you chatter and they're on social media singing the loudest noise? It's not the loudest of, this one is a leader, this one is a leader, that makes you a leader. No. By their fruits, we know them. Listen, we talk about membership. There are movements in this struggle that have operated all this while from the viewpoint of humility. Where were all of you in 2016 when members of the consortium that's made up of several civil society organizations and trade unions went from one village to the other, one town to the other, city to the other, sensitizing the people, educating them to make them buy into the need to rise up and seek this freedom? Where were you? Did you exist? That today you believe that others are useless and you are the only ones? Where were you? Some of you say you've been in this movement for 30 years. What happened during those 30 years? Did you succeed in getting just 20 people, 20, to get out onto the streets to say that time for freedom is now? It takes work, hard work. And it breaks my heart when I hear Comrade Cho Ayaba talk about Comrade Fontaine in very derogatory terms. Comrade Fontaine could today not represent very much in the minds of each and every one. But let me remind all and sundry, it was the ingenuity of Comrade Fontaine that resulted to the creation of the consortium. He came and said, with the lawyers already out there, with the teachers already shaking, if we bring in all the other members, all the other segments of the civil society, and we all get together in some kind of a union, a name he finally came up with called the consortium, we will be able to make a greater impact. And that is how, by that idea and his efforts, we were able on ground zero to bring together all the civil society organizations and trade unions that mattered. And with this, the membership, do you know how many people make up just the Okada Riders Union in Kumba alone? I don't want to go to Bamenda. I don't want to go to Boya or to anywhere else. That you stand here and you can talk about membership and following. Do you know how many people make up the traders unions in just each of these cities? Do you know how many people make up the transporters union that is led by Comrade Tata Donna Silaf of the consortium? Do you know? Do you know how many trade unions, groups, and organizations make up the consortium? Listen, arrogance comes before a fall. My people, this hard work, and I want to also give credit to Mr. Agbobala. Agbobala today may stand on the side as a federalist, but this is a man who, along with Comrade Tata Donna Silaf, entered all the nooks and crannies of Southern Cameroons prior to January 6, 2017, when we held the first meeting to say, okay, right now, we are going to call ghost towns. It had to come as a result of serious preparations, massive education on the people. We didn't require amber boys or amber girls to tell parents to keep their children home. No, we didn't need that. We didn't require amber boys or amber girls to tell lawyers to stay home. No, we didn't need that. It was education. Education. We touched the minds and hearts of the people, not through arrogance, but through simple, clear-cut explanations to make them see and understand the need to rise for that which is so dear to them. It's not this arrogance today. And this movement stood tall and strong all the way with no amber boy, no amber girl, right up to November 2017 when the first of them emerged. We managed through 3 months of internet outage as a consortium, as a body alone. We had all it took, all that it took, or that it would take going forward to manage this movement all by ourselves. But at the consortium, humility is the watchword. That is why you don't find us on social media fighting. That's why you can insult us from morning till evening. Nobody has that time. We are busy on the ground working. When you create shit on the ground, we pass around with our community-based leaders, going from door to door to educate the people to the need to ignore the stupidity that some of you spray on the ground there and focus on the objective. Today you have the guts to come and claim that the civil society is meaningless? Really? We instituted ghost towns and ran them until this day without the need for sticks. No, it didn't. We didn't require sticks. On September 22, 2017, we brought out to the streets millions of southern Cameroonians. We didn't need sticks. I'm not downplaying the role that these young boys and girls are playing. I may not be an apologist of the use of sticks, but I will not downplay the role that anyone is playing in this movement. On the contrary, I doff my heart to all of those who by day and by night are giving their lives to make sure we have a country tomorrow. We will not get this country by arrogance. We will not get this country by sitting down and calling ourselves the Alpha and the Omega. We will get this country back through synergy and by making sure that everyone's contribution matters and comes in. Listen, my people, I am personally convinced, and very strongly so, that those who are coming out and making this noise about power seem not to understand what is at stake for us. The clear aspirations of the vast majority of the people of the Southern Cameroons today is to see synergy among all Southern Cameroonians, not even only in the leadership, among all Southern Cameroonians. Did I hear that one of them said they should pray for the other? Honestly, my people, both of them need your prayers. Both of them need our prayers. Very strong prayers from us all. They require these prayers to come back to their senses. If they cannot be humble enough to sit and talk with their peers, how much more am I expecting that La République du Cameroon should come talk with them? And I say this, when you allow voting pride to take the better one of you, you become the weaker link. Take note of what I'm saying. When you allow voting pride, voting ambition to take the better one of you, you become the weaker link. And when I listen to Chris and to Comrades Chris and Comrades Cho Ayaba, I said these are the people setting the scene for more bloodshed among Southern Cameroonians, among these innocent young boys and girls who are rising to defend their motherland, not suspecting at all that anyone is using them for power play. I mourn for them. because they're only coming out to fight, to defend themselves, to defend their communities, to try and protect their land, to try and take back that which belongs to them. But very unsuspecting that there are some people who are using them for their power play. My boys, you didn't give birth to any of them. How much are you paying any of them a salary per month? My people, we have to rise to the occasion and recognize that each and every one in southern Cameroons is important. Listen, you say the civil society is of no moment. That mother who stood out there at the Commercial Avenue in Bamenda representing traders and reminded an impostor that they don't respect or recognize anybody as mayor or whatsoever because they ought to be the ones to elect them. Is she an Amber boy or an Amber girl? Was she one? The gentleman who followed suit of the Traders Union to remind them of the same thing. Is he an Amber boy or an Amber girl? These are people of the civil society. These are people who are being educated permanently by the soft tools we use. Send people from community to community. Talk to your people. These boys are causing exactions and left and right and all whatnot. But going out there to be traitors, to betray them, is not what will take us forward. Forget, they are your children that have pooped on you. Clean it and, move forward. This is the education that is going on to keep the struggle alive. This is the role the civil society is playing. It is not your sticks that are causing people to feel that they need to respect the ghost towns. No, they respected it for several months when there were no sticks. And it is in their minds and souls because they have been promised all forms of security and assistance. But they have turned this down because they have been sufficiently educated to know what they want, to understand what they are after, to look at the bigger picture. Nothing would turn them from this. Nothing. These women who are the governor's office in Bamenda told Lele Lafik in the face that they can't sing the anthem of La République du Cameroun. No. They are not Amber boys or Amber girls. No. They're civil society, Comrade Ayaba. The same women who told the governor in Boya that you can't force us, put words in our mouths to say our children are the cause of all of this. They are not Amber boys nor Amber girls. They are of the civil society. So, sitting down to try and negate what other people are doing smacks of the total absence of humility. In leadership, humility means being open to the idea that you're not right. I like us to note, my people, that these things always come up. Each time, efforts are in place, and the international community is pushing that we have to operate in one bunch, that we have to build synergy among ourselves. The enemy comes for the weaker links, knows their thirst for power, knows their vulnerabilities, knows their gullibility, and jumps into them. While I can tolerate and forgive one because he's a high school dropout, I find it hard to believe that the other who puts PhD in front of his name doesn't understand the meaning of synergy in situations like this one. It is an embarrassment that we don't learn. I like us to end on this by tapping from the wisdom of Mahatma Gandhi, who himself was a revolutionary, who says it is unwise to be too sure of one's own wisdom. Absolutely unwise. Absolutely unwise. Listen, Nelson Mandela in South Africa did not lead an armed faction. No, he didn't. There might have been an armed wing of the ANC, but that was not the one that Nelson Mandela led. The world did not go out there to push for negotiations with the person who led the armed wing. The world went out there to push for negotiations with the person who led the peaceful wing, Nelson Mandela. I think this should serve as a lesson to all of us Southern Cameroonians, that we recognize that the freedom of our people is paramount and more important than the stingy egos of some among us. It is an aberration to imagine that at the time when the people on ground zero are feeling more and more that we as a people must try to speak together, work together, exchange ideas, bring in all our resources, and benefit from what is called comparative advantage. That I am a specialist in communication and you are not. I do communication. You are a specialist in guerrilla fighting and I am not. You specialize in doing that. You are a specialist in diplomacy and I am not. We front you for all diplomatic efforts. You are a specialist in community mobilization and I am not. We front you for community mobilization. That is the way of wisdom. That is how we operated in the early days. That is exactly how we were able, with Mark Barra and all the others, to bring out millions of people on the streets in the southern Cameroons on September 22. It was not through arrogance. No. That is how the consortium succeeded in educating the critical mass of southern Cameroons to buy into this movement and stand by it until this moment. It was not through arrogance. We have to go back to our roots. Our forebears were not PhD holders. They were not educated. But right up to this point where we are underperforming them. And we have to rise to the occasion. We must turn over a new leaf. My people, we must turn over a new leaf before it is late. Pride, I said earlier, comes before a fall. But as a people, we must resolve to distinguish between what is true and what is manipulation. I will not, in my disgust at what these fellows did, come here to stand to push conspiracy theories. That's not true. That's not going to help. But I will only try to say, let us give room to the voice of reason and let it guide our actions, our thoughts, and everything that we will do going forward. Because I felt it so preposterous for Comrade Ayaba to sit and dish out instructions that the Committee for Dialogue or the Committee on Dialogue and Negotiations should report to him all their outreaches and all whatnot that are going on around the world for harmony. No humility to say I will have to work and join them, to say I will have to work with them, to see how we get these things going. My people, we have to rise to the occasion. We have to turn over a new leaf. If we need freedom, we have to do what people who need freedom do. Are we angry enough to want to determine that what we are running away from, we cannot embrace? Because when I quote Louis XIV, l'état c'est moi, that's exactly what we are running away from. That is what La République du Cameroun is, and that's what we are running away from. We cannot be running away from one thing in one form and wanting it in another form. That's not going to happen. This is not the Southern Cameroons that I left everything I've worked for to come fight for. This is not it. And my people, myself, Mba Akuro, and hundreds of thousands of other Southern Cameroonians have determined that we will not stand by and watch some gesticulators destroy a noble movement that we have fought so hard to build. Just when we are getting closer to victory, that is not going to happen. To God be the glory.